Oh, it puts a smile on your face every week, doesn't it?
Put your trousers on, son, you nit.
We're the Sweeney, son. We haven't had any dinner.
Oh, God.
Is it on BritBox? I can't remember.
Yes.
It is
yes.
on BritBox.
In fact, I keep meaning to go back and start watching again.
Do you know the first one of the first villains to meet his end in the very first episode of the Sweeney was no less than Dave Dickinson, television's Ford prefect.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And the first car to be stolen on the Sweeney was Jack Reagan's girlfriend, and it was her white Mini.
Remember that? You're just a hive of useless information, aren't you?
I'm certainly full of something. Anyway, good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Interesting Modelling Co. midweek, the midweek one. Sorry we didn't do a poster today. I've had I just forgot. Long story short, so.
So I look at it, little Jim Alter got there, starring Jonathan Mock as JM. Andrew Manton.
Would I be Reagan or would I be Carter? I don't know.
Andrew Manton as the Mirage King.
The Mirage King, yeah. Incidentally, another little bit of trivia to do with the Sweeney. We'll get on with the modelling aspect in a minute. Is the influence that the Mike Hodges film Get Carter had on the Sweeney, because it ushered in that kind of new British brutalism.
Very, very similar kind of stylistic in terms, not just of the era, which is obviously going to be stylistically similar, but in terms of shooting style.
Yeah, it's the cinema verite, I think the phrase is. And also, who was the main protagonist in Get Carter?
Well, Michael Caine.
Yeah, but the character.
Oh, Carter.
Jack Carter.
Jack
Carter. The two characters in Sweeney, Jack Reagan, George Carter.
Yeah. All right.
Also, a lot of people who were in Get Carter ended up in the Sweeney as well. People are now already wondering, what on earth are they talking about now? This is a long-forgotten television show from the 1970s. Now they're talking about an equally obscure film. Honestly, Get Carter, the Michael Caine film.
Oh, what a brilliant film.
It's a brilliant film.
I can remember the first time I saw Get Carter, and the very last scene, I just sat there like, what? It was really that.
It is the ultimate in nihilism, isn't it? Nobody comes out of that film looking good, do they?
Nobody comes out of that film looking good, but the fact that he comes out of that film with a hole through his head.
Spoilers.
Well, I'm going to say on a film that's 50 years old, I'm not too worried about spoilers. But it was just the very end of it. It was just like I was just sat there staring at the television, going, "What?"
Well, just to kind of like round off tonight's cultural odyssey. I had a similar thing when I watched the Gareth Edwards film Monsters, because long story short, the film ends where the film begins. Yeah. Okay, and then when you realise that it suddenly wins you, because you go, I know what happens. I've already seen what happens. I didn't realise what I'd seen at the beginning of the film is the ending of the film. And that is brilliant. That Monsters is an absolutely brilliant film. Anyway, let's get on with it now. Dave Fleming says, never seen it, don't need to now. Yeah. Any other films we can spoil tonight? Star Wars, Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker. Oh no, hang about. They spoiled that themselves. So
yeah. Did you know they were brother and sister?
Let's move on. We're going to talk. We're going to do some project updates tonight, obviously, and we're going to pick a topic, or we're going to riff on a topic. We've got a rough topic to do, but I think we'll go over to your workbench. What are you working on?
Well, we're still on the Bronco. As you can see, I've started adding some little drops of paint here and there, and started adding some camouflage in there. And this is why I broke it up, is because I want to be able to get into these areas and spray them without, sponsons and stuff being in the booms and stuff being in the way. So yeah, I've started. The problem is I've lost a bit. I've been busy doing other stuff this week. I've had a new 3D printer turn up, and I've been playing with that and all that kind of stuff. So, but I'm just trying to get the at the moment I've sort of added the seat belts and painted the seat belts, but I haven't added the buckles yet. And until I add the buckles, I can't get the canopy on. So it's kind of there a little bit. But as we said, as I pointed out on Sunday, they did include templates for the canopy masking. So I scanned that the other day and used it to make masks to mask off the canopy, ready for assembly and stuff. And it all fits, all fits beautifully well. But until the seats are in, I can't get the rest of it together and carry on.
Chicken and an egg, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't like interiors at the best of times, so it's a bit of a mojo sucker. But I need to, next couple of days I'll get on with it. But I will say, as you can see, I've been sort of painted the back. I've airbrushed the back of the tail booms there, just to check paint mixes and stuff, and then once I've done some more work around here, I'll get the rest of the booms painted and we can move on and spray. But I have to say, and this week it's just reinforced my opinion, I don't think there is a better paint on the planet to airbrush than GSI Aqueous Hobby Color, thinned just with isopropyl alcohol.
Not with Mr. Colour Thinner then?
No, isopropyl alcohol. It never ever clogs, and it always remains completely free. And you can get these. Well, you can see the kind of edges I'm getting freehand.
Is that because it flashes off relatively quickly, that it's got no time to kind of start running or dribbling or anything like that?
I kind of think that's probably a part of it. And I don't know, but I'm also kind of thinking because relatively speaking, isopropyl alcohol is quite hot in terms of as these things go. I think it continually cleans a needle, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So you don't get any you don't get any build up on the needle because it continually the harshness of the isopropyl alcohol continually scours the needle clean, sort of thing.
Right.
So it never ever seems to. Well, I say it never ever. It does, but I think in terms of all this kind of spraying here, I think I sort of cleaned the needle off, I think, once throughout all this. But you can see how it sprays. You can see the kind of tight edge you can get, but it's difficult to tell sometimes when you airbrush because you get that kind of uneven finish when you freehand airbrush.
Yes.
So what I did earlier was I just gave that a quick coat of gloss, just so you can see what it looks like when it's all uniform.
Yes, that's an important point actually, because I've noticed this in the past, that when you're airbrushing kind of like freehand camouflage, you do get that kind of disparity where because you are applying more paint along the edges seem to be darker, and then the rest of when you're doing the infilling, it doesn't. But the moment you put a leveling coat of a varnish on top of it, it just all goes. That sheen
and that's what I did there, just to show what it looks like, just so you can see. That's just purely to bring all three colors into sort of unity, if you like, and show how it's going. So yeah, that's that is where I basically am at the moment. Like I say, I did have I had a new 3D printer show up this week, and I've been playing with doing some stress tests on it by printing lots of bombs and stuff just to see if it'll print them okay. And I have to say, thus far, I haven't had a single.
What model is this? What printer is this you bought?
This is an Elegoo Saturn, which is a slightly bigger printer than my previous printers.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bomb that's been primed just to see what it. And as with all these things, you can see the print lines in it if you look carefully, but it's so much more stable than any of my other printers. So I'm sort of playing with.
And that's due to the Z-axis, isn't it?
That is because it's got a dual linear rail on the Z-axis, which means that the Z-axis doesn't wobble from side to side. If you've got a single rail,
Yeah.
It can the Z-axis, which is the up and down axis for people who don't know. If you've got a Z-axis up like that and you've only got one rail that everything attaches to, it can wobble from side to side. Whereas if you've got a dual rail for the Z-axis, it's kind of braced from both sides, so you don't get that kind of wobble and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's but so far thus far the printer it's looking absolutely awesome. So I'm starting to lose a bit of faith in 3D printing with the problems I've been having with my last printer over the last year. So I sort of got this one this week, and I've gone, oh yeah, that's how it all should have been. that's how it should be. So yeah, I see. I'm just looking at what we've been talking about. Christian Gerard there saying, try the extra color paints with hotter thinners. They are working great then. Well, I always think that if you were to ask what my top 3 paints of all time were to freehand airbrush, the first one is extra color with extra color, not acrylics, extra color with just white spirit, MRP, and Mr. Hobby Aqueous are my 3 favorite paints ever to freehand airbrush. So they're the ones I use. So yeah, that's where I am. I got distracted by other stuff. So where are you? Are you still painting people?
I'm still painting people now. I thought I'd do a follow-up to Sunday's little adventure because, well, first of all, I gave Sher a couple of brush coats of the Humbrol 61 from that little teaser pack, and it does lay down absolutely beautifully. But one of the things I found was it's a little bit thick out of the bottle, so I added a drop of this stuff.
Right.
And do you know what? Do you know what? I don't know if you can see how much is still in there. If I tilt it, you can see it's probably still about 3. If I put my thumb on the side there, that's where it is. That's where the level goes up to at the moment. I could do with a bit of a clean actually. This, you were with me when I bought this.
Yeah.
Howard Hockey, I think it was, in White Ladies Road in Bristol.
Yeah, I've
2010. 2010. Yeah. This is 11 years old this now, but I'm still, in fact, Harold Hockey. No longer there, unfortunately. That's a great old art shop, no longer there. Anyway, so I found that adding a drop of that to that, and it then brushes beautifully, but it also gives it a little bit retarding time,
right? So
that it kind of like gives you a little bit of time to work out. So I'm literally a tiny splodge of that in there. Weirdly, I know we were talking on Sunday as well about how some of these caps, you shake them and they absolutely flood the paint. You know, the paint floods the nozzle. This one, it doesn't. I'm thinking perhaps because this one is actually a little bit thicker.
Right.
Perhaps, maybe. So a drop of the Flow Aid, literally a drop. This is like doing my COVID test. There we go. That'll do. And incidentally, this Liquitex Flow Aid, you can add this to Tamiya acrylics. You can add it to Gunzi. You can add it to Vallejo model color, Vallejo Air. It's pretty much a very good kind of lubricant, I think is a good way of describing it for the paint. But yeah, if you see there, that now kind of like flows out so much nicer now. It will, if you overdo it, it will kind of affect the adhesion. So you don't want to be too mad with this stuff. But it's definitely nicer than using water. So what have we got here? Pro Arte 1/8 miniature painting brush. These are as cheap as chips, really. I think it's about £3 in art shops, which for a quality brush like that is as cheap as chips. And I've got a little bit too much on there, so I'm just going to take the excess off and then just work it onto the surface. So just get in there and get the paint moving around nice and quickly so that you're not getting any brush strokes or anything. Obviously, I'm an absolute rank amateur when it comes to figure painting. As the figure painters watching this will now be having paroxysms of laughter watching this amateur from Dudley doing it. But that flow aid does work very well with the Humbrol acrylic, and it just makes brush painting it like this an absolute joy. I'm really impressed with this 61, because I've got quite a few of the flesh colors here from, goodness me, what have I got? Panzer Races, I've got Model Color, I've probably got some other ones as well, but I've always liked the tone you get with Humbrol 61, especially as these two are blasting around Breen Sands in a beach buggy. They're going to have a little bit more of a tan, and
from Breen Sands, really.
I'll show you the box.
That's a bit ambitious.
I'll show you a box. Probably frostbite more, actually.
Yeah.
Also, so they are having fun in the sun. So I am going to be giving them a bit more of a tanned appearance with some oil paints, just to just to blend the colors in. But other than that it helps them. It just helps them brush so much better. I'm just going to add a little bit more in there, and then they dry matte, but with just a tiny little bit of a sheen to it, which I like. I don't like flesh colors to be too matte, because then they look a little bit too dead. So we'll give Cher a couple more, just one more coat, because I did just give it a quick polish with some Scotch Brite. But other than that, I'm really quite impressed with these acrylics for for the tasks I'm using them for.
Yeah.
So a little bit down there. I don't know why I'm bothering being so finicky around the back here, because this is all just going to get lost when she's in her seat eventually. Oops. But as I say, the flow aid just enables you to get the paint on and move it around without it starting to drag, which is when you start getting brush lines appearing. So yeah, I'm fabulously impressed with these acrylics, and they will be getting quite a bit of a workout, especially with another project I've got here, which I'm just going to go and grab right now. Let's just clean that up, because I don't like leaving the paint in there. Now, this is something I'm working on at the moment. Sadly, not available at the moment, but I'd like to see it come back along with some of the others in the range.
Oh, right.
George Washington. Doesn't include a cherry tree, but there you go. Now these are Ron Cameron sculpts from the Collector's series, and this one I got off eBay, absolutely perfectly intact. So I've been building it over the last week or so, and again the sculpting on this is absolutely superb, and this is close to 50 years old, this. So I've got his tunic together. I'm going to have to do a little bit of cleanup down there, but again, I will probably brush some Mr. Surfacer on there first of all, then actually clean the seam up. Rather than trying to clean the seam up and then priming it, I'll use the primer as the indicator of how I've done it. Then I'll put another coat of primer on there. Also, the primer does microscopically fill as you're actually working on it as well. So we've got his tunic there.
It's actually a lot smaller than I was expecting. I was expecting it to be a bit bigger than that.
No, it's 54 mil. It's 32nd scale. So we've done his head with his lovely ponytail. Ponytails, I remember them. And also what we've got here is literally a ponytail. We've got the old nag's head there. I've actually done a little bit of cleanup on the upper part of it, and I congratulate myself on getting rid of the seam line there. Only then to remember that the saddle
there's a saddle to go over it.
Top of it there. So, but I've got a little bit of clean up here. Don't have to at the back end, because that's what horses' back ends look like. So I've been told by a friend of mine who rides horses. Let's move on. And so just got luckily the head. The thing, see again, this is smart design, that the the breakdown of the head there is right where the harness goes. So
like the bridle goes, yeah.
The bridle, yeah. So, oops, Daisy, back in your box. So, just got a few bits and pieces. I mean, we're going to come to this topic in a minute about finding time for your hobby, which comes off the back of that excellent video I watched during the week by John Buis. And yeah, I've just been doing little bits and pieces on this 5, 10, 15 minutes. And it's amazing how quickly you can actually move a project like this along.
Yeah, I mean, I've been grabbing sort of 10 minutes over the last couple of days each day on this Bronco because I've been doing other stuff, but it's still pushing the project along.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll talk about that in a second. But this is massively out of my comfort zone because I've done military figures in the past, but not to do something like this. And also, it is another good thing to try out the acrylics on because George has some nice colors on there which will suit this acrylic taster set. So we obviously got, in fact, we've almost got complete matches for the tunic and also the sash down the middle there. What we haven't got is a white, but I'm not going to worry about that because I shall probably prime him in. What I shall do is actually do a final priming coat in black using a can of Mr. Surfacer. Then I will give him a kind of like an undercoat using Tamiya. I'll probably use Tamiya flat white acrylic for the simple reason because it's flatter. It means that it just helps the acrylic paints absorb. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Aren't moving around on the surface; they're actually absorbing into that flat finish. So I'm going to use the acrylics for quite a few of the uniform colours and some of the ancillary details on this. The horse will probably be painted a brown colour, obviously, but I'll probably do a lot of the shading on that with oils. But I'm going to move quickly on this one. I'm not going to really spend a lot of time, faffing around with it, quite frankly. But I love these 54mm figures, and I would like to see more of them return because I think they are absolutely beautiful. And for somebody, and like I say, they're also good for when you want to change a pace.
Sorry, you actually caught me modelling there. Look at that. What we were talking about, and I was actually. While you were waffling, I thought, I just realised I forgot to put a bit in the cockpit of the Bronco. So, I do apologise, people.
We're going to talk about this because John Buis put up a Facebook video this week, and he was just saying, it's essentially, I'll go and find it in a second to tell you what exactly it's called, but essentially he was talking about getting more out of your hobby with kind of like time management, and it's about 23 minutes long. We posted a link up to the Facebook page, and I know some people have watched it. And honestly, it was utterly brilliant. I mean, John's a very smart and articulate guy, and he puts stuff across with just like a real kind of great kind of humor and everything. But yeah, discovering the secret to growing in the hobby. And essentially what John was saying was that the only way you're going to get any kind of progress with projects or indeed your technique or anything like that is you've got to put the time in. And he made the equation of, it's a bit like saying you want to have, you want to have, 6-pack abs or something, and then you spend 4 hours a year in a gym. Well, obviously that's not going to happen, is it? You've got to, I'm paraphrasing him there a bit.
Nothing works without effort.
Nothing works without effort. But also, with modeling, there's a certain amount of muscle memory. And the more that you're doing things, the more you kind of like, you pick up on it quicker the next time around. I know that if I've not done any airbrushing for a couple of weeks, suddenly you start overthinking it, which is another thing John was talking about. That you lose the instinct, and suddenly you are just kind of really, it's almost like stage fright. That you don't know what to do, you don't know where to go. So I think I absolutely, John is absolutely on the money. That if you want results, you've got to put that little bit of time in. Now, obviously, people have, they have demands on their time. They have jobs, they have family, they have a myriad, it could be health concerns, whatever. They have a myriad of other things that impinge on their time. But it's amazing what you can achieve with 10 minutes a day in the workshop, or 15 minutes a day. As much as some of us would like to be able to sit down and, at the end of an evening, spend a good couple of hours sat in the workshop, just losing ourselves in our projects. Not everybody can do that. And it's about small things that add up to the bigger picture ultimately. But it also keeps your hand in terms of keeping your hand-eye coordination, your technique, everything.
Probably the reason I don't think my freehand airbrushing is as good as it used to be is because I don't do it as much anymore. And if you don't, you lose lose that ability. Not completely, but stuff that becomes second nature to you in terms of thinning and ratios and pressures and all that stuff, you just end up having to go through it all again and relearn it, and you're effectively trying to relearn it while building a model. So any kind of mistakes you make with that are going to be on that model.
Yeah. So also, John also made the point that he said that he's built 300 odd models since 2006 when he came back into the hobby. He said, but what you won't see are how many of them just never worked out. Just never.
Well, we've had this discussion frequently with Spencer on here and stuff like that. You only ever see Spencer's successes. Well, you pretty much only ever see my successes. Well, I mean, the Beaufort this year is let's be honest, is there a better example of the fact that not everything works out? And the best laid plans. And the Beaufort, there's in fact nothing wrong with any of them. I could finish mine in a week, I expect, but I've just got absolutely no desire at the moment to do that. And that's fine as well. If you run out of sort of mojo, as they call it, on something, put it to one side. I've got a KV1 over there, which is halfway through chipping and has been for many months. But I'll pick it up at some point and carry on with the chipping. The problem with that is that when I pick it up after to carry on with the chipping, I've then got to remember which paints I used, which mixes, and sorry, am I disturbing you?
No, it's all right. I was just going to go and grab a project, but
and so there's nothing wrong with having more than one project on the go, but it's also you've got to remember that some processes need constant work to remain au fait with.
Yeah,
if you like, and it's like anything, it's like I saw. I don't know who it was back up there. Jim Altergott saying, would I do a feature on 3D printing and creating parts? Simply put, Jim, yeah, I don't mind doing that at all. But that's a prime example. If I don't use Fusion 360 for a month and then decide to go and design something, I'm then fumbling around trying to remember what the commands are. And how you do stuff. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a degree of muscle memory in there and a degree of sort of familiarity with the processes. Christian, your trousers, yes, sir. Christian, they're not accretion. Accretion was I don't even think they're doing accretion anymore. They did them for a year or two. And I think they finally decided to they've slightly reformulated the standard aqueous hobby color. I think they've slightly reformulated these, and they're even a little bit smoother than they used to be and a little bit better spraying than they used to be. So it's the GSI aqueous hobby color that I'm using, not the accretion, which we tried, didn't we? We did a little bit of work with the accretions, and I didn't really like them. I know Mike Williams had some success with them.
I'm just looking at the Mr. Hobby page here, and it's literally in terms of the accretion range, it's white, base grey, base red, base yellow, base blue, base green. That's it.
Yeah, I think as far as I'm aware, I think about 18 months ago they basically stated, that range, it was they tried it, it didn't really work, and then they just went. I think what they've done is they've reformulated the Aqueous, and I think it probably brushes a little better than it used to, but still sprays as beautifully as ever. So yeah, that's not the Acrisian range, Gerard. That's the Aqueous hobby color I'm using.
Yeah.
So
which I've got a gazillion behind me here.
Yeah, I mean, I like I say, I mean, I most of the time I use Mr. Color. In fact, on this here, the actual light, the 34102, the lightest of the greens, that's actually Mr. Color. And then I've used Aqueous hobby color for the 2 camouflage colors over the top of it, because I think Aqueous, it can remain a bit soft, and it can, if you hold it for too long, the heat from your hands can end up leaving fingerprints.
Yes.
So it's just, it's but for base coats and stuff that I'm going to mask, I would still use Mr. Color. But that's had a coat of the gloss I used there was GX112, because that'll go over Aqueous and Mr. Color as well as each other without any trouble at all. So, and now that is obviously, that's pretty much rock hard now. So yeah, that's what we do. But yeah, no, we'll have a look at how we can best show the 3D printing stuff, if you like. I think ultimately that might be best done in the form of a video that we sit here and watch one night.
Yeah, pre-record that.
Yeah.
We can do that. We can definitely do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like the other thing from John's video was, he's talking about just if you are having trouble finding the time for your hobby, what can you do to make that time? And he said that one of the things he does is he just, if he wants to make the time, he'll get up earlier, he'll go to bed later. Again, not entirely practical for everybody. It is a method, and I can relate at the moment. Is I go through this weird period throughout the autumn whereby I'm waking up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I know I'm not going to be able to get back to sleep, so I go downstairs, boot the Macs up, and I just get to work. I just start doing artwork, put some podcasts on, go on with artwork. Today's a classic example. Got through to 12 o'clock today. So what's that? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 7 hours I've been working today. Midday, that was it. I went off for a walk with my friend Alan.
Yeah.
So people who say to me, well, it's all right for you going off for walks in the day when the rest of us are working. I've been working since 5 o'clock this morning, you see, and it's, and it's similarly, sometimes I've come down here and and if the work isn't that demanding, I'll probably put in, a couple of, an hour in the workshop. Then I'll start work at 6 o'clock in the morning, you see. Additionally, I know it's not going to work for everybody, and I fully appreciate it's not going to work for everybody. And again, sometimes the one thing we're battling is our own enthusiasm. It's our own what's going on up here can be sometimes the biggest impediment to us actually getting on with things. But there's another thing which I think is perhaps crucial, and that is if you are time short but you still want to be building things, then cut your cloth according to your means and do projects that are manageable.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're time limited, taking on an enormously complicated subject is just gonna defeat you, because you'll never see any progress. You'll never see, if you take on a 30-second scale Lancaster or B17 or something like that, and you can only find 10 or 15 minutes 4 or 5 times a week, there's no point. You're going to be working on the pilot seat for 4 months. It's just, you need to, the most you need to be doing in that case is if you really want a Lancaster, pick a 70-second scale one and get on with it.
And also, it's kind of like, in a situation like that, is choose something or have a look and see about building something where you can get results rapidly, so that you are working your chops through a project whereby you are going through the construction, the construction ups and downs. You are going through the painting, the challenges or not of painting. You're also going through the decaling phase and the weathering phase. So you're going through the entire act from act one, to curtain up. You see, but if all you're doing is every time you're going to the workshop and you are literally just still doing the same thing, you're just doing this and doing this, doing this, and then a year later that project has not moved on. This is where that kind of that mental kind of quagmire can then set in. Like I say, we're not saying you've got to do this. We're saying.
No, I mean, Steve, they're saying nothing wrong with slow burn projects. You're absolutely right, Steve. But I bet that wasn't the only project that you did in 9 years.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all got projects that are a slow burn and have been going on for years, and in some cases decades. But they're not the only thing. No. They're not the only thing we're building at the time. And a long slow burn project can be put away for you to build something else. I think the longest time I've ever spent from start to finish on a model without anything else getting in the way was 12 weeks, and that was that Tamiya Mosquito I built for Andy.
Yes.
That was I worked on that for 12 weeks, nothing else, straight through. That was the only thing that was on my bench for the entire time. But apart from that, I tend to have multiple projects on the go.
I'm trying to shy away from that because I find I've tried it and I find that it just dilutes my focus, and I'm much happier when I'm actually kind of banging through something in a single session from nuts to soup, really. But that's just me. That is just me. In terms of the longest project I've ever had on the go, this was a model bought for me by my mother. Hello, Mum, if you're watching. Which was the Hasegawa Leopold railway gun, which I got for my 13th birthday in 1980. And it's here in the workshop. I can actually see the box here, and I think I started putting some paint on it about 4 or 5 years ago. It's missing bits. And it's a bit like Penelope's shroud, this one. I just keep weaving it and weaving it and weaving it, and it's never going to get finished. But that has been on the go. But no, I mean, with what we're saying is it is merely a suggestion, is that if you are time short and you're frustrated that you're time short, is perhaps consider picking some projects where you can just absolutely blitz through them on the basis of 10 minutes a day, 10 or 15 minutes a day, something like that. It's all about keeping these moving and keeping this moving.
And especially in recent years, the sheer quality of kits these days, if you want to build a Thunderbolt, why would you pick anything other than the Tamiya one if you want to blast something out quickly? Because it's going to be...
You pick the Revell one as well then, wouldn't you?
Well, the problem is, John, my last look at the Revell one, it hasn't aged well at all because their molds are... They haven't looked after the molds very well.
You say that.
And the same with their Focke-Wulf 190. I looked at one of those a couple of years ago, and the canopy was basically unusable.
Yeah. Same with the Eurofighter. I've got some of the first issues of that. It is beautiful. That was Hasegawa beating that kit. Now the last one I bought, which was probably about almost 10 years ago. It's gone from Hasegawa beating to taking a beating.
But that mold has since been replaced as well.
Right.
So the Revell seems to have gone for quite limited duration of the mold. That new tool Typhoon has already been replaced by a new tool kit without quite the amount of options in it, but a bit more refined overall again. So yeah, it's but what I'm saying is there's so many really, really, really good quality kits around these days. An Edward Hellcat, an Airfix Wildcat, the Armour Wildcat, any of those sorts of things. You know, any number of Spitfires these days, and these are kits that you can slam out in you know a weekend if you're really that, you know, if you're really want to get it done that quickly. Yeah, very much cut your cloth to suit your time limits.
Yeah. Perhaps what we'll try and I'll give it a bit more thought and formalize this, but I think perhaps what we could try and set here at the IMC is literally to say to people, okay, in the next month or so, we are going to do the 15-minute, the 10 or 15-minute a day challenge, and it is just show us what you've managed to do in 10 or 15 minutes in a single session, or just set your clock. Even if you are doing an hour session or 2 hours, or you're doing it all day on a weekend, is just show us what you've actually been able to achieve in 10 or 15 minutes. Because I think sometimes you can actually be, quite amazed. For example, tonight, in the space of 5 minutes, I just put some additional coats of acrylic on these figures. That is one less task that needs doing. It's move the projects on a bit more.
Yeah.
And I find this in the day job is sometimes I'll be focusing on that bit of information that I'm still trying to resolve, and a bit of artwork that I'm still trying to resolve. And it kind of like, I start to kind of like go down a rabbit hole with that. And then I think to myself, hang about, what on this particular artwork project at the moment can I move ahead with that I know I can get on and done, and that's it, and I don't have to worry about it. And then I start going, well, I can do this, and I can do this, and I do this. And then suddenly when I get to that final thing that log jam that I think is going to slow me down, you just breeze through it. So Dan Wood says, I use super glue to fix fuselage together after seeing Drew's and Jen's tutorials during the festival. It's worked brilliantly so far. Thanks for that. Yep, that speeds things along a bit. Dan is working on the 48 scale Airfix Canberra.
I mean, all these are techniques that with the correct preparation will definitely speed a build up. Without a doubt.
Yeah. We've had a suggestion from this company to says easily knock out a new starter set in 15 minutes. There we go. So thank you to that company. Well, the starter sets are a good example. There are things you can do, and there are projects that you can set yourself where you are going to start feeling a sense of achievement. So it's like any of these things. It is very much it's got to be tailored to what you're comfortable with and what you can do and what you want to do. But like I say, you do see, and also, I mean, to give you a classic example is people who say, and I see this all the time on forums and on Facebook pages, and it's people who say, I'd love to have a label. I'd love to get my teeth in. I'd love to be able to have more time for my hobby, as they spend hours mashing away at a keyboard on forums.
So I mean, I think that the takeaway from this is that we would, if you're a modeler who likes to build models, find 10 minutes.
Yeah,
just
show us, take some photographs, show us, and explain to us what you've been able to do.
Yeah.
In 10 minutes. We'll set that up as a challenge for December. I think.
I kind of think sometimes, whereas people might look at you and say, well, it's all right for you. Your day job keeps you at home and all the rest of it. Mine doesn't. I still have I was going to say a proper job then. You know what I mean? A job that requires me leaving the house to go to another place of employment and thereby spend 8 or 10 hours there is so yeah, proper job. But I still manage to find 10 minutes some days, and some days it is only 10 minutes. So just try and find a little bit of time for your hobby.
Conversely, actually, because quite literally my office is 6 feet away in the back room here, because I'm sitting in the extension. At the end of a working day, the last thing I want to do is sit down and build models. it's bizarre that sometimes
Yeah,
it
but
does feel like
again, we come back to we come back to the idea, John, that your day job is related to the hobby as well. So you're going to quite easily, it's like Spencer, modeling is his job. So the idea that he's going to finish doing his day job and then spend the evening modeling is ridiculous.
I'm also conscious of the fact,
go and watch football or play PlayStation or whatever.
Yeah, I'm also conscious of the fact that you and I lose 2 hours a week modeling time doing this nonsense. So although we do actually get on with some modeling, so
yeah. It's just Steve Moore's there saying, do you guys not get issues with your project's flow sometimes? Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I said that, I know John says he likes to stick to one subject, but I've generally got a couple at least on the go. I mean, God, that we've still got, talking of models whose flow has stopped, behind me at the moment is still,
But then that happened with your C130J, and then your Mojo came back, and that absolutely got blitzed in a matter of
less than a week
or so.
Yeah, but that's and that'll sit behind me maybe for another month, and then I'll pick it up and I'll like you say, blitz through another few bits of it, and at some point in the very near future I will be putting paint on that.
Well, this is painfully close to being finished. I've got the stickers on. This is a perfect opportunity to actually try out my lovely satin varnish from, I've forgotten the name of the company now. Drew, help me out there for a second.
VMS.
VMS, yeah. Oh, it's been a long day, people. I've been up since 5 o'clock. And and then I can actually get on with the weathering. So this is ridiculously close to being finished. I started painting this 2 months ago when I was at the Al Murray show. And I really need to get a wiggle on and get this done. And in fact, I'm with a bit of luck, work will be finished in a week or so, and so then I will have some time off for good behaviour, and I will be able to sit down. I will still be getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, despite the fact that I will not be doing any, I'm not doing any work. But I will use that 5 o'clock in the morning to actually get into the workshop and just do some workshop stuff for an hour or so, and then get on with other bits and pieces. But that's annoying. I've got that IBG cruiser tank, which I'm desperate to finish off as well, because that was a kit that was donated to us by Colin at Freight Dog, and. So there are. I've got that Fujimi Mini to finish off, which Andy Antics gave us, and I've got an idea what I want to do with that. And that Mini, because I just couldn't get the finish I wanted on it in terms of a nice kind of a nice British racing green color, because I was going to do my old Mini. I've just decided that I'm going to change plan on that, and I'm going to set myself a limit. And I'm going to build and finish that model as quite literally one that's got primer panels on it. It's part way through a restoration, or it's a bit like my friend Ian.
I'm very aware of the fact that you've been telling us you like to stick to one subject, and you just rattled off a litany of subjects that are on the go.
Yeah, because that's my problem, is that I try to multitask with these projects and the whole thing's fallen apart. I can't do it. So what I need to do is each of those ones is compartmentalize and go, right, for the next 2 evenings, I'm just going to work on that, bang, 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 and that's it. And then move on. For example, on the cruiser tank, what's holding me up on the cruiser tank? All I've got to do is paint the Pioneer tools, stick some decals on, give it a coat of sealing varnish, weather it, it's done. That's it.
Yeah.
And again, the problem there isn't time management. The problem there is up here. It's a mental block.
I was just going to say, Ed Jones there saying Al Murray, closet modeler. No, he's not a closet modeler at all. He's very, very out there and very, very much an enthusiastic ally of and that's really happened in the last 18 months or so. Yeah. He's really, really become a serious ally of the modeling scene, and he talks about it all the time. He spent about 10 on the last episode of We Have Ways of Making You Talk, he spent 15-20 minutes discussing Scale Model World and you know, the brilliant time he had there, the people. He's not.
I actually did say to him at the We Have Ways Fest is, you know, because we had a couple of chats during the weekend when he came over to us, and I just said, you are a fantastic ambassador for the hobby, and he is.
Yeah, because people know who he is, and he's you know, and he's incredibly enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
You know, he was talking about the fact that he bought some aftermarket tank tracks for some of his stuff this weekend and all the rest of it. So, you know, he's not with the greatest of respect to James May. I always feel that he's kind of harnessing the hobby rather than promoting it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whereas I very, very much feel with Al Murray that he would be doing it anyway. You know,
yes.
that he has got an outlet to share what he's doing is great, but he would be doing it anyway. He's discovered something that he absolutely loves doing.
Yeah, this was one of the things. It was one of the things that it's kind of like we have actually approached him to say, would you like to come on the show? And he has indicated an enthusiasm. How can I word this carefully? I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he said, yeah, that'd be fun. So we are going to try and see if we can get him on as either as a live or a pre-record. Obviously, very, very busy man. But we, when I was chatting to him at the show, and I said, do you mind just doing like a quick, you know, literally like a quick 2-minute thing talking about your models live at the show? Ended up being about 10, 15 minutes because he was so enthusiastic and talking about it. But then when we were talking later in the day, and he's a good example of time management. He's a very busy man, but he still finds time to build and enjoy his models, you see. But we were talking at the end, towards the end of the Saturday, we were chatting about things, and it was, I think, the thing that just his enthusiasm, but also just how versed he was in this hobby in terms of aftermarket.
Yeah, no, he's thrown himself into it. Like he's thrown himself 100% into it. You know, I mean, it's not many what you'd call relatively new modelers will be talking about the aftermarket. You know, the metal tank tracks they bought and the project he's got planned for it and all this sort of stuff. So,
he was hoovering up value gear stuff at We Have Ways Fest, and he was talking about his milliput sandbags and everything, and it was fantastic. It was, you know, and again, that, as I say, he's a great ambassador for the hobby. Truly was, because just that sheer enthusiasm, which I think sometimes we, as kind of like, you know, people who've been building models for, you know, a few years, you know, we can get a bit jaded, and we can sometimes lose that, you know, lose that ability to look at the hobby in a different way.
We lose that sense of wonder.
Absolutely, which comes back to the fact that building this beach buggy, that does to some extent encapsulate that sense of fun, just that pure joy of building a model for the sake of building a model. And as I said, if you look at the box art there, that's definitely, I think that's Breen Down there in the background. I think.
I don't think you're wrong.
Or the only thing is, Breen Down, I don't remember seeing like a little bump of land there. Although that could be further out towards Barrow Beach, because there certainly are the tide breaks there as well. So I don't know. I think that's Breen Down. Like I say, you're more likely to get hypothermia, the suntan at Breen Down. But and people are asking me, what colour are you going to paint that JM? And I am going to use this lovely metallic orange from Tamiya. It's the LP44. This is where we are deviating from the. We've built it using a basic toolkit. We are going to be painting it with slightly more advanced bits and pieces now. But actually, that's almost not a bad match.
Yeah,
it's not perfect, but it's close enough.
Close. Yeah,
it's close enough. So I should be priming the body shell with some Tamiya primer from a spray can, And then I'll be giving it a polish just to kind of like sort out any bits and pieces on it. And then it will just be airbrushed with the Tamiya LP44. Then I'll actually, just very quickly, I'll be putting these to good use on it, because I am going to be weathering this thing. It's been up and down Breen Sands, for goodness sake. It's going to be picking up a lot of muddy sand. So I should be going through these packs and using these to create some nice mud splashes and kind of impacted sand and everything. So these little packs, when you can get them open, are essentially just some of their weathering powders in slightly smaller bottles. But it's a useful little pack, and there's a variety of colors. This one is brown earth, dark earth, bright sand, white sand, and texturing powder. So there you go. You get those in there. Oops, Daisy. It's caught it on the instruction sheet. And the other set, bear with. We are just going to go and have a quick look at that. The other set is light rust, medium rust, dark rust, black smoke, and iron oxide. So that's definitely more your kind of as it says there, aging powders. But yeah, I'm going to put them to good use on this, and especially on the underside and around those wheel arches and everything. So yeah, that again, if I was to really kind of like concentrate on that, in about an hour, I could move this project along massively. Which I should try and do tonight. I should try not to get distracted by doing ghost stories tonight. I will actually get on and do some modeling. But yeah.
I see Ian Rusco. Hi, Drew. When are you cutting plastic on the Russian icebreaker? Well, Ian, I haven't even. When I get it, Ian. The plan at the moment, as we've discussed, I think we discussed it briefly on Sunday. That is kind of penciled in as my Christmas project, because I've got a couple of weeks off over Christmas, and I'm kind of thinking, hopefully I can get the Tomcat done before then. I can get this Bronco out of the way, then get the Tomcat done, and then hopefully the icebreaker will be over Christmas and into early January, I would think, to do that. Because I'm still kind of quite stoked about that. I still really want to. In fact, I have to say the Tomcat and that I'm stoked about doing them both at this point. I really want to get the grips with them both.
Yeah, we just got to sort out the logistics of meeting up, because you don't have any holiday left, and my weekends start getting filled up quite quickly now. So we'll find one way of doing it. We've still got that open invite to pop down and see the new Jadlam play, so I think that's probably going to be how we're going to achieve it.
I mean, I think I really would like to get in to see Jadlam. You know, they have invited us. I think we really need to make the effort.
Yeah.
So
perhaps
I got another package. I got another package from Jadlam just today, actually.
Well, I'm just having a think here. Always a dangerous thing, obviously, but I'm just working out is that next weekend, the 27th and the 28th, I think because the 28th is ironically the 28th is when I'm at Breen Sands doing my big annual Breen Sands walk. The 27th, the Saturday, I think that's clear at the moment, so we could meet up at Jadlam. So pencil that into your diary.
Well, pencil that in and say that's what we'll do. In fact, don't pencil it in, put it in and say, well, that's what that Saturday's for.
Yeah, that's what that Saturday's for. Yeah, I will do that. 27th of November. Ironically,
don't just bump me for a better offer.
They're all in the gallery doing this. Ironically, we're just going off on a tangent here, because we do. 28th of November was when I first started secondary school in 1978. I always remember in the library there was a poster for the Bristol Model Soldier show, which was at the Corn Exchange in Bristol, and it was on the 28th of November 1978. And that was the year I started secondary school. Obviously, the first thing I did was went to the library, found how to go plastic modeling, and that changed my life in so many directions. And so that was, I went with my dad to the Bristol Model Soldier show at essentially the Corn Exchange, St Nicholas Market, where you and I had a very disappointing cafe experience.
Yes.
A few years. Yeah, remember that?
We've had some good cafe experiences there, and some pretty.
That was the one where we had the pot of tea, and it all gone a bit artisan. It all gone a bit Heston Blumenthal, which is another. Right, the Heston Blumenthal one. We'll save that for Christmas. That's a funny one. That is. Yes, exactly. But yeah, it was there. It was the St Nicholas Market. So, and of course, this Sunday, the 21st, I'll be going to the same society's show. At the little school in Nailsea. So yeah. So there we go. Dave Fleming says Airfix Beach Buggy was based on the UK-built Bugle Buggy. There we go. Yep. So yeah, exactly. So that's a beautiful one tonight. Oh, it's marvelous. Any other business?
No,
No.
I will explain. I'm going to bed in a minute because I had my flu jab today. And the very nice pharmacist who gave me the flu jab, she said, you might get a headache later on tonight or tomorrow. Just go with it. And I'm like, yeah, it'll be fine. It's no problem. And I'm sat here at the moment. And it feels like my forehead's just throbbing. So
I got to say, I had mine last Wednesday, and they said you may experience flu-like symptoms, and I'm like, yeah. Come Sunday and Monday, I was quite wiped out.
Yeah.
I'm fine now. Tuesday, I went for a 6-mile walk. I've done another 5 miles today, so I'm I'm fine. So
it's like, you might have a little bit of a headache later on or tomorrow. Don't be stupid. It'll be.
Talking of Breen Down, I was just going to say today for my this is what getting up at 5 a.m. means you can do later in the day. I actually did Sam Point, which was absolutely splendid. It's like little mini Breen Down. I will Photoshop out the edge of the camera case on the phone there, but Sam Bay is absolutely beautiful, and it was just it was absolutely gorgeous today, and then managed to have a nice walk around Madeira Cove, which looks out towards Breen's. There's Breen Down rather in the distance. Definitely is on that box art, and out towards Burnbeck Pier, which has now been bought by North Somerset Council, and they're looking at plans to restore it. That's good news because that's an absolutely fabulous thing. And then me and my mate Al, we went to the fantastic Quarry Art Centre and Cafe, which I've not been to for about 10 years, and that is brilliant. That is absolutely.
That's pretty, isn't it?
It's very good. When you come up, we will have to go there. Gotta say, I had a jacket potato with brie and cranberry. Brie and cranberry, and then honestly, that's that carrot cake. Oh, nice. Best carrot cake I've had all year.
Nice. And if anybody out there does like Breen Down, check out a song called "The Tale of Gunnar Haynes" by Gaz Brookfield.
Yes, that's the guy who discharged his thing into the magazine there, isn't
it? There's an entire song about it.
Yeah,
called the Tale of Gunnar Haynes.
Probably on the 28th in the evening show. I'll probably update you with the pictures of. I was going to say just very quickly pictures of my trip to Breen Down. Incidentally, a little bit of trivia. This is slightly kind of like related to the show anyway. But do you know what marks Burnbeck Pier out as being rather interesting historically?
I'm not the first idea.
Okay. Burnbeck Pier was the Admiralty's only seagoing pier.
Oh, right, okay.
It was, during the war, it was rechristened, Second World War, HMS Burnbeck, and it was used for the testing of secret weapons.
Oh, okay.
By all accounts, it was one of the cushiest, postings you could get. They managed to procure food, alcohol, plenty of wood to heat the thing there. It's in a book called Wheezers and Dodgers. Honestly, the story about HMS Burnbeck is actually quite funny. But yeah, it was actually, for a while, it was the Royal Navy's only seagoing pier.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Any other business? One final any other business. And that is, like you, Drew, I was really, really, really looking forward to next week, the new series of Star Trek Discovery. And then
And then
well,
Paramount.
folks, if you want to know what happened, and then go and look it up, because what happened is that Paramount decided after having the cast and crew doing promos around the world, including the UK, where they were getting people whipped up for the fact that the new series of Discovery will be dropping on Netflix on the 25th of November. Paramount then, 72 hours ahead of the show actually appearing on streaming platforms, decided that they would move it to their own platform only, and the rest of the world would have to wait until the streaming platform starts there sometime in 2022. But they described it as good news for the fans. Yeah, I'm feeling the good news, trust me.
I can feel a degree of yeah.
Because I like Discovery. I really
let's put it this way. I sense an awful lot of people will be watching Discovery, and an awful lot of people will be watching it without paying for it.
Yeah, I think that's obviously we don't want to encourage that kind of thing, but unfortunately,
no, I don't want to encourage that kind of thing. But what they're doing, there is always a but, isn't there? But the fragmentation of the streaming sector is just becoming too much.
Yeah, I know.
Having
said that, something's going to go in the new year. It might. Well, let's put it this way: I no longer have a reason to continue my Netflix subscription because I'm not getting Discovery on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ditch that in the new year, and I'm actually going to do Disney, for the simple reason that I saw the teaser trailer this week for the Obi-Wan series. So.
See, I've been Disney off,
Okay,
and I'll keep Netflix.
Because bear in mind, next year on Disney, there's going to be. I'm going to play catch up on the Mandalorian because I haven't seen it yet. I know a lot about it. There's going to be the Andor series. There's going to be the Book of Boba Fett, and there's going to be Obi-Wan. So yeah, I think Disney. Yeah, you can have some of my money. Yeah, I know. But anything's got to be better. I am
so over Star Wars. I am so over Star Wars.
Well,
it needs to be just let go.
Ed Jones says apparently Star Trek: Strange New Worlds may be on the Beeb in the new year. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Would be nice. Anyway, look, we started going off on a tangent talking about television and films, and we've ended. So we're nothing if not circular.
Let's draw a line under it.
Let's draw a line under that. Anyway, on that note, just to say thank you to Drew for joining us tonight. Thank you to everybody for watching. Will we be back on Sunday? Are you back on Sunday, Drew?
Yeah, don't see why not. Yeah.
We'll try and like I say, we'll probably launch it officially in December. But in the meantime, everybody out there, give some thought to posting something about what you can do in 10-15 minutes. The 10-15 minute challenge. What can you actually achieve?
What we want is kind of like a submissions thing, like Take Heart's Gallery.
I was just going to say.
And we can once a week, one show a week or whatever, we can run a little gallery of where people are and what they're doing.
Post it to our Facebook timeline, as some of you have been doing with some of your projects, because that's what it's there for. It's not just us wittering away. It's there for you to post your projects and share and take part in this kind of like crazy page. So the 10-15 minute challenge, there we go. What can you do? So on that note, thank you to Drew. Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you to the weather today for being awesome, because it was lovely out there. On that note, just remains for me to say, stay safe, stay out of trouble.
Take care, all. See you Sunday.
Bye-bye.